Alright, so it's no surprise that AI is taking over everything we do, especially in Amazon and Audible self-publishing, but the publishers who know how to use it properly are cutting costs, moving faster, and scaling with ease. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a clear, practical system for writing high-quality books using AI, so you can scale your Amazon KP and Audible business efficiently without wasting time or money. But more importantly, we're going to cover how to do this the right way, maintaining quality, avoiding shortcuts, and ensuring that you're not causing any more problems for yourself. AI slop can easily be avoided when the tools are used correctly, and that's what we're doing today. Let's get into it. Alright, so section 1 is the big picture, starting with how AI is changing book creation. So of course, there's a lower barrier to entry, the cost and the effort has never been lower, and so you don't have to be an expert to start. Anyone can create a book within days and publish it to Amazon. AI has also contributed to faster iteration and feedback. So book outlines, manuscript drafts, revisions that once took weeks from a professional can now be done in mere hours. And of course, with this more volume comes more competition. And so easier book creation means more books are being published every single day, raising the importance of quality and positioning to actually stand out. And this increase in competition and book volume inevitably leads to higher standards from platforms. So Amazon and Audible are now a lot more strict with their quality control, and books that were at one point fine now are being blocked from even being uploaded, which is changing how we have to create books, and we really have to increase our quality. And so why AI makes writing easier but not automatic is that it speeds up execution, not thinking. AI can write quickly, but it still needs human direction to decide what to write and why. Quality, of course, depends on the guidance you give it. The more specific the input, the better the output. And a vague prompt produces a vague result. AI will also follow patterns, not intent. It predicts language based on data. It doesn't understand your audience, your goals, or your tone unless you provide that context. And of course, a big thing that people don't fully understand is that editing is still required with AI content. An AI draft still needs extensive review for clarity, flow, accuracy, and originality. Otherwise, that's why you're going to end up with AI slop. And so why AI fails on its own is that it optimizes for completion, not quality. Its goal is to finish the task, not create something of high quality. Repetition will also creep in quickly, so if left unguided, AI will reuse phrases, ideas, and sentence structures across sections, becoming very redundant. And this is very apparent when you do read the text. Formatting patterns become obvious. There's an overuse of dashes, similar sentence lengths, and just predictable transitions that are easily signaling AI-generated content. And of course, hallucinations will happen. AI may confidently include incorrect facts, sources, and explanations when it is unsure. Because it's pulling from the internet, it doesn't know what's right and what's wrong, so we need to make sure that we are properly fact-checking and just setting a good foundation before we input anything, so it's working off what we give it and not just improvising. And so although when you do input AI and get an output, it seems like a completed body of work, it will not read well and will very quickly be interpreted as AI slop. And this is what most people create. They put in a simple input, get the output, and do nothing more. They slap together a book, publish it to Amazon, and that's it. And that's why Amazon is increasing their quality control. That's why books are being labeled as AI slop. However, it doesn't have to be this way. You can use AI properly to create a high quality product that you literally can't tell the difference between a written manuscript from a real writer or AI. And so the goal is to use AI as leverage, not a replacement. It's going to handle the speed, but we still handle the judgment. So it's going to accelerate our research, our organization, or of course our book writing. And we're going to decide what stays in, what gets cut, and just refine it as much as we can to get the highest quality product possible. And so the proper way to write a book with AI starts with the foundation, what we do beforehand. So by the time we go to write our book, it's going to be very easy and very high quality. And the first thing is, of course, picking a topic that is ideal for AI. So we want something that is very structured and repeatable. These are things like cookbooks, exercise books, workbooks, beginner guides, things that aren't going to take a lot of effort. And more importantly, each chapter is going to be very similar. And so once we get a good output with the first chapter or two, the rest of the book will be very easy to create. We also want to avoid things like coloring books, activity books, trivia books, facts books. These are incredibly saturated and what most people create with AI. And by putting in a little extra effort, going to the medium or high content books such as cookbooks and exercise books, it's going to be way less competition and still really high demand. We also want to focus on problem solving, finding topics that are solving one problem for one person very specifically, not things that are too broad. People shop on Amazon very intentionally. They are going to the platform, they are typing in what they're looking for, and they're buying a book based on that. And so we need to find these topics that people are already searching and create what they're already buying. We also want to prefer evergreen topics. These are things that are going to sell for the long term and get better over time, not just spike and die off. So just avoid things that you think are trendy as well as seasonal topics. And most importantly, we have to validate demand before we even select the topic and write our book. We have to use the correct data and metrics to find the demand, avoid the competition, and give yourself the highest chance to actually make book sales. I do have other videos on my keyword research process for actually finding these book topics and validating them. So definitely subscribe and go check that out after. But let's continue on with the writing phase. So the first and most important step to writing your book with AI is proper topic research and building your outline. If you don't do this, AI is just going to basically improvise and wing it. You're not going to get a good product. And so the more topic research we do to actually find what our customers are buying and what we need to create, and then outlining that properly for our first initial prompt, you're going to set yourself up for success, and your first few prompts with your book are actually going to turn out pretty good. And so the real goal of our topic research and our outlining isn't to write the book, it's to create a solid body of information that the AI can work from. When it has the right structure and information, it's going to very easily write that book. It's going to be a lot easier for you to actually fact check, validate, and then refine it. And so AI performs best when it's responding to context, not inventing the structure on its own. So it's very simple. We're just going to be getting some very important information from our topic, which we can then use to build our outline. Then once we have that, we know exactly what our book's going to be before we even write it. We're going to grab the table of contents. So what is the chapter structure of the top 2 to 4 best-selling books in the topic? This allows us to find the baseline, what our book needs to have, and how we can present the same information with a unique angle. We can also go look at the competitor reviews, what people liked, what they didn't, and just ensure that our book excels in these areas. These are going to be very important things like how the images are laid out and how they're presented. Maybe the customer wanted them in color, maybe they wanted them easier to read, or maybe they just didn't like the overall structure of the book. So these are very important things with how your book actually reads that will make a difference to your customers. And if you address this beforehand, people will be more enticed to buy your book because you're going to present that properly with your product page. And when they do buy your book, they're going to have a good experience and most likely leave a positive review. We also want to get our competitor titles. Our competitor titles are going to tell us exactly what's inside the book very clearly, who they're targeting, and what the book overall is covering. And so it's good to have that in your topic research, as well as our competitor descriptions. Once again, our competitor descriptions will basically be a simplified version of everything inside the book and what it's doing and who it's for. And that's just a great way to find out exactly what needs to be inside your book. And when you pair all these things together, it's going to be very easy to create a table of contents for your book that covers everything you need, improves on the areas the other books lacked, and then refine it to have some sort of unique angle. And all you're going to do is find this information, put it into a Google document, which we can then copy and paste it into ChatGPT or some sort of LLM, and start to build out the table of contents that we can start from. So let's say I'm publishing on the topic Diabetic Cookbook for Beginners. I'm just going to click on the best-selling books in the space. Of course, you want to copy the description, the title. You can go down and look at the reviews. But more importantly, if you go to the read sample feature, you can see exactly what's inside their book, specifically their table of contents. And you can just screenshot this and put it into ChatGPT and get it to organize it for you. So I'm not going to worry about all these individual points. You can if you want some ideas, but I'm just going to pull the main chapters. And if you do this for multiple books, you're going to find that most of them will just be a simple table of contents, so it's easy to pull from. So I basically went and looked at my competitors and pulled all the information that I need. What's my book topic? What's the competitor titles or table of contents? Some reviews, some features that they have inside their book. And I just did this for a couple competitors. If you do want this sheet, I will leave it linked below. You don't have to put in your email or anything. It's just going to be a document you can make a copy of. But it will make it easier to put in your information and then have the prompts that you need to start to create out the stuff that we need to create. So when it comes to actually turning this information into something usable, we're going to use this first prompt here. This is just going to basically craft us a table of contents, which we can then turn into chapter outlines, which we can then turn into our actual written book. So I will leave this in the document below. Basically, it's just telling the model that you're using to create a table of contents for your book with a few guidelines, as well as referencing the input notes that you're going to paste here, which is what we just did in the other document. And this is going to give you a really good output for a proper table of contents. So I like to use ChatGPT for this. It does do a good job. We will use another tool when it comes to actually writing our book, so definitely stay tuned for that, as it really will enhance your AI writing experience. But once I copy pasted this into here with the system prompt that we just looked at, it basically came back with this. So it goes over the competitor breakdown. It goes over how we can have a competitive advantage. And then finally, it builds our table of contents. So you can ignore most of this stuff if you like. The most important thing is the actual table of contents that it built. And as you can see, it looks super good. We have a beginner's guide to eating with diabetes without fear or confusion. So getting people introduced to the topic, the simple blood sugar method, why this cookbook works, the first 7 days, what to eat when you're just starting. So I do actually like this angle. As you can see up here, it was looking at what the other books were missing and some opportunities that we could capitalize on. Specifically, there's no clear what to eat in the first 7 days. There's no onboarding. So if you're just changing your diet and you don't know how to start or what to do, it's going to very clearly outline that for you. So you can start the first 7 days effectively. And when we do showcase this properly in our A+ content on our product page, people are going to see the book is structured very well, and it's actually going to help them solve the problem, not just give them a bunch of random recipes. There's also no guidance for real life situations and other things like that. So as you can see, a lot of the other books aren't really delivering the best product. And so once we actually create a high quality product that's structured properly, it's what the customer wants with that unique mechanism, making it better. This is going to clearly stand out when we do present our offer with our cover, our title, our description, and we will get more book sales than our competitors. And so don't overlook the topic research phase. This is where the book comes to life. And then once we do this properly, actually writing our book will be very easy. So because we did the proper research with the right information and had a good prompt, this is finished in my opinion. I'm not going to change this structure at all. I think it looks super good and definitely stands out from our competitors. And now the next thing to do before we write our book is just to start to get the actual chapter outline built out, starting with chapter 1, which we can then use to go and prompt our AI and get our book written. There will also be a chapter prompt in the document below. It's very simple. It's just asking ChatGPT to build out chapter 1, which is the one that we just looked at right here. So a beginner's guide to eating with diabetes, and just gives it a little bit of guidance so it knows what to do and we get a proper output. So as you can see, it comes back with a very clean chapter outline for chapter 1. It has an introduction, subheading 1, why food feels confusing after a diabetes diagnosis, what actually matters for blood sugar, what doesn't, the beginner-friendly way to think about meals. But overall, because we did proper research and gave a good prompt, it came back with a really good chapter outline. I'm super happy with this. I would not change anything. And it does give some references as well. However, we will further fact check our book once we start to write it, but we're going to do that later. It also gives you some optional workbook exercises. Write down 3 foods you're afraid to eat and why. Identify 1 daily meal you want to simplify first, and just creates a more actionable book where it's clearly helping the customer. It's not just giving them a bunch of recipes. It's understanding what's going on in their life, their new diagnosis, how to manage it, how to adapt to it, and then giving some workbook exercises so they do feel included in the book. So you don't have to put this, but it is just a nice little touch that adds that personability to your book. So I'm going to do this for every chapter of the book, and then of course copy it into another document. So I have a full Google Doc that's just all the chapters and the completed outline. So section 3 is the correct writing process. How can we actually effectively write a book with AI? So we of course want to write in small controlled sections. This avoids fluff and redundancies and allows for more control over the finished product. We also want to give direction, not just a topic. So plug in, of course, our chapter outline and any other relevant information we have for that section. In this case, our chapter outline, because we have such a good foundation, will be perfectly fine. We want to iterate, don't regenerate. So with our first prompt, it's not going to be perfect. We shouldn't just keep asking it for a new output. Just take what it gave us and then refine it from there. Refining is where the book comes to life, and we do have an iteration prompt I'm going to show you, which is just going to condense it and make sure it does sound human. We also want to use multiple tools, so you can try this input on different AI models: Claude, Grok, Gemini, ChatGPT. Claude is very good for writing, as well as Gemini. There's actually another tool I'm going to show you, which I think is actually the best writing tool for AI as of right now, and will make your process super easy and seamless. So when it comes to actually writing our book, I'm going to use this tool called Spiral. So of course you can put your chapter outline into ChatGPT or Gemini and try that. But this tool I think is very, very good for writing. It's built on top of Claude, but because it's designed for writing, it's going to have a lot more in-depth of a process before it actually gives you an output. And then when it does give you an output, it's going to give you multiple options and you can pick which one you like the best. So once you create an account, it's going to be just as simple as any other AI model. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the starter prompt as well as chapter 1 of my book outline. So I'm simply going to ask it to write chapter 1 of my book on diabetic cookbook for beginners and then paste in chapter 1 of my actual book outline. You can also include some of your topic research as well, the output that ChatGPT gave you before, just for a bit more context. But I'm just going to use the chapter outline for now as I think it will work fine. And this is where Spiral is very different than other AI models, is once you click start writing, it's going to contemplate it for a bit. It might even ask you further questions before it even gives you an output. And then when it gives you the output, you're going to get multiple options. So as you can see, it's pondering, it's really reading your prompt and starting to build out its response. It says, looking at your attachment, you've provided a comprehensive chapter outline with clear structure, purposes for each section, real-life examples, and practical exercises. This is excellent material for a writer to work with. However, it asks for a quick verification. Before I hand this off, this is your cookbook you're authoring. The chapter should be written in your voice as the author, guiding readers through their diabetes eating journey. So it's asking me what type of tone it wants. Do we want it to just be a more robotic cookbook, or is it actually, coming from the perspective of the author? So I never actually thought of this to begin with, but I think because we want to have a unique angle and actually create a memorable experience for our reader that's walking them and guiding them through their recent transition, not just giving them some random recipes, speaking to the reader from our perspective rather than just giving them information is probably going to be the way to go. So I just said yes from my perspective in my voice, and now it's going to further ponder and then give you an output. So now as you can see, it came back with the 3 options. So we can hide them over here if we don't want to see them all and just want to look at one at a time. But basically, just look at all 3 options and read them. Find which one reads and sounds the best. Of course, we will do another prompt to refine it, but this is just to find the baseline tone that we like. So I do like the structure of our book that we came up with. It is a good introductory into the topic. As you can see, it is talking about somebody newly diagnosed with diabetes, how uncertain they are, they don't know what they can eat now, and it's just easing that pain, telling them that we understand that, and this book is going to help them overcome it. And so do not forget that there is a reader on the other side of your book. There is somebody buying your book with a problem, and they want to read your book to help them ease that pain of that problem. Don't just look at it as writing and book sales for you. Look at it as helping somebody achieve something. And it's very important we understand that because it's going to change how we actually write our book and which of these we're going to pick. So really read it, find the one that resonates with you most, that sounds the best and has the good foundation, which we can then further prompt and refine it so it actually is a proper book and doesn't just come across as AI slop. So I'm going to go with this one here. I'm super happy with it as of right now. It's very emotional. It sounds good. It's a great introduction to the book. It's about 1,800 words. And given that our table of contents was, I believe, 12 chapters, we're right on pace to create around a 24,000 word book, which is perfect for cookbooks. A high content book is anywhere from 20 to 30,000 words. However, when it comes to cookbooks, you can get away with a bit less, closer to 20,000. That's only going to keep your printing costs lower. So because we did the right topic research, we created the right outline, we're using the right tool with 3 different options as our output, we're most likely going to have something that we're happy with right away. Of course, we still need to improve its overall tone and flow and make it sound more human. But the important thing is because we did that foundational research and work, the output will be good. So don't be surprised if the output is good right away. That's the point. That's why we did what we did. But most people just start with basically nothing and then take the output. But we do the opposite. We do proper research, get a proper input with proper information. We then take the output and refine it further. And the finished product that we're going to end up with is going to be way better than just the normal AI slop that's giving AI a bad reputation. So we're going to work through one chapter at a time. But now before we move on to the next chapter, we're going to, of course, refine it how we like it if you do have any specific inputs that you want. However, the main thing we're going to do is refine and fact check it. So we have 2 baseline prompts that we want to do. The first one is to humanize it and make sure it doesn't look and sound like AI. And the second one is to fact check. So when it comes to the first prompt, you can screenshot this or have a look. I will, of course, include it in the document below. But it's very simple. It's just giving AI a task. We want it to remove repetitive ideas, phrases, and sentences, eliminate unnecessary dashes and replace them with natural sentence structure, like we talked about before. The dashes are very common with AI text and it's very easily interpreted as AI. Fix inconsistencies in tone, terminology, and phrasing. Improve flow and readability. It gives it some more rules too, so don't add new ideas. We don't want it to start hallucinating and creating more content. Just take what you already wrote and refine it. And then a few more things. It does have a spot here to put in our actual text that we want to revise, but because we're working in Spiral, we can easily just ask it to change the text right there and not have to actually plug anything in. So I'm going to copy this and put it into Spiral and see what it comes back with. So it made all the changes I asked, changing the text and then telling me exactly what it did here. And now I can reread this, see if I like it, and then of course prompt further if I want to optimize it even more, changing sections, changing structure. But the important thing is use your judgment. Just read through it, make sure it sounds good, and change what you need to change if you have to. But this prompt just really fixed a lot of the things that AI struggles with, removed the dashes, the inconsistencies, and now even just looking at it, it looks more like a proper piece of text and not an AI written text. And the last thing we do before we actually move on to chapter 2 is to do the fact check prompt. So I'm just going to simply copy this here and then plug it in. It's going to do the same thing that it just did with our initial humanized prompt. Just make sure that we do have everything fact checked properly. But in many cases, depending on your book, it most likely will be fine already. But if you are in some more technical topics, it is good to do this and just double check everything is fine. So as you can see, it found a few things, which is exactly why we do this. Some claims that are generally accurate and there's no changes needed. It highlights these specifically. However, it does have a few flags. Specifically one where it says, here's what I've learned after years of working with people just like you. So it flagged that you might not have this actual experience because it was writing from our perspective, but it did, of course, hallucinate a bit. But I'm glad it flagged this because we can remove this and ensure that we're not making any claims that we can't back because I haven't done this at all. It also has another flag here where the language seems a bit restrictive. There's a few different sections where it catches that it wrote balance beats restriction every time. The person who learns balance wins every single time. Extreme diets fail eventually. So this is making some hard points, but this isn't really the case for everybody. Some people might need restrictive diets for a long period of time to be healthy. And so this might be worth removing because it is a bit harsh and we don't want to make any bold claims, especially with something like diabetic diet. As you can see, it flagged a bunch of things that it thinks will be an issue that we wouldn't otherwise have caught. And then it asks if we want to make these changes. So I will say yes. And once I say yes, it's going to make the changes. And now we know that our book is a lot more fact check, a lot more accurate, and not making any bold claims that we can't back. So I'm going to read through it one more time, make sure the changes that it did just implement sound good. And once I'm happy with the text, with chapter 1, I can simply copy the entire chapter and go and paste it into its own Google document. Then once I complete all the rest of the chapters, we're going to have basically a finished book inside this Google Doc. And then once we have our finished book, this is going to be super easy to get formatted, whether we're doing it ourselves or we're going to be outsourcing it. To do the exact same process for chapter 2 and beyond until you've completed the book, all we're going to do is go and get our chapter outline for chapter 2 in this case. We're going to prompt Spiral. In this case, you can ask Spiral to use the exact same tone it just used for that chapter without generating 3 new responses. We are then going to humanize the text, use our first system prompt that removes the dashes and any redundancies. We're then going to use our fact check prompt to take away any bold claims or things that really shouldn't be in there. And then once we do that, we're going to proofread to make sure we're happy with it, and then go and paste that chapter into our Google document after chapter 1. So although this completed book will be higher quality than 99% of people using AI to write books, we still want to go through one more process to further finalize the manuscript and just ensure that it is as high quality as possible. And people won't know if your book is written with AI or written by a writer. All they know is that it's a high quality book. And that is, of course, we want to first read through our book, make sure it does sound nice. If you did do this thoroughly with your initial chapters, you don't have to go through the entire book again. However, what we will do is go and clean it up further and even further humanize it. This is done through Grammarly. We also want to have it edited. This is going to be done through Grammarly as well, or we can outsource this. And then we just want to do one final pass and skim, and then we can get our book formatted. So because you're saving a ton of money by writing your book with AI, I do recommend investing in tools like Grammarly. It's only going to allow you to do one more final pass and ensure that your book is of the highest quality possible and it's going to stand the test of time. But all we can do is simply paste in each chapter individually into the Grammarly document on your Grammarly web app. And they do have a bunch of tools on the side over here. So you can use their humanizer. However, I will say, because we did all our research and our prompting and refining in Spiral, most likely it's already going to be good and humanized. I personally wouldn't mess with it too much, but what we do want to do is go through and edit it. So we can simply use the Grammarly proofreader, but definitely experiment with some of these tools. They have a fact checker, an expert review, a paraphraser, a lot of different things that can be very effective if you're not completely happy with it. But for now, we can just go into the Grammarly proofreader, and this is going to proofread our text for us, and we can go through and find the mistakes. You can also do this on the document itself. So if you do add the Grammarly extension, it's going to auto-populate it here. So it makes it super easy. You can just do it for the entire manuscript basically in one go. And as you can see, it has a lot of very specific things it finds. So right off the bat, the writing quality is already very high. It's a 99 out of 100. So this chapter is warm and reassuring, but some sections may benefit from tighter, more concise language. So as you can see, our text is already good, but now we're refining it even further to really create that high quality product that people are going to love and it's going to sell for years to come. So it has critical mistakes, it has sharpened key messages, it has improved accuracy and clarity. And so basically go through all these each individual things, look at the changes, accept them if you do like them, or just dismiss them if you don't. And all this is doing is just giving us one final tighten to make sure everything is just as high quality as possible. So when people do read the book, there's no question if it's AI. All they know is that it's a high quality book that they're enjoying reading. So you're going to mainly use the Grammarly proofreader. You can try out the different tools if you'd like, and you can also use this inside the actual document itself. It will take a bit of time to load if it is working with the whole document. So doing one chapter at a time in the doc might be helpful as well, but do whatever works for you. But once you finish doing this for your entire book, you basically have a finished manuscript. As you can see, the quality is already good. We're just further refining it, but this is going to be better than more than 99% of people writing ebooks with AI. And so you can confidently get this formatted and uploaded to Amazon, knowing you're creating a high quality product and you're delivering a book that's actually going to solve the reader's problem effectively and not just give them some AI slop. So when it comes to actually formatting your book, this isn't something that we're going to dive into right now. However, I do recommend outsourcing it because we're saving a ton of money on the actual manuscript. Spending a bit of money to get high quality formatting will elevate your book above others and give your reader a good experience. So simply go to Fiverr and type in ebook formatting and go and look at some portfolios and see which ones you like. So you can easily click on some freelancers and look at their portfolio for this specific job. You can also see their rates. However, I would recommend giving them a message beforehand, asking for a custom quote based on your exact book. And it most likely will be cheaper than this, or you can even negotiate a little bit. So I've used this formatter before. She does a great job. I've used her for multiple books and some students inside my program have as well. And she delivers a great product for a very reasonable price. And because we just saved $1,000 on our book, spending the money here will be worth it because your reader will have a better experience and your book will come across as high quality and credible. So AI is now the baseline with our publishing businesses. You don't win automatically by using it, but you will lose by ignoring it. We want to use AI to streamline our workflow, lower our costs. However, we don't want to sacrifice quality in the interim. Give this process a try with your next book, and I promise you it will be just as good as a human written manuscript for a fraction or basically none of the cost, and your readers will have a great experience. And if you're sick of running in circles and watching YouTube videos and you want to create high quality assets that stand the test of time and actually sell, you can apply to my full Amazon KDP and Audible mentorship program below. It's going to walk you through the entire book creation system that I use to generate multi-six figures on Amazon and Audible, step by step from idea to high quality book to launch, in a very clear process that's worked for myself and many others. And most importantly, you get one-to-one support and guidance from me so you always know what to do next, what to fix, and what to ignore. And this is all hosted inside a proper mastermind group of serious publishers who are actually getting real results and growing real businesses and not just talking about it. You can apply using the link below. If approved, you will get the full offer document that outlines the program in its entirety, everything inside, and exactly how to join when you're ready, so you can decide if it is what you're looking for. It's really just for people who know that they're going to thrive with the right environment, training, and coaching. And if that's you, definitely apply below, and I look forward to seeing you inside. That's it for this video. Make sure to subscribe for more no-nonsense Amazon KP advice. We'll see you in the next one.